Hey, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to our podcast. We understand that there are many other things that you could be doing, but you have chosen to tune out from whatever it is that you were engaging in before listening and tune in to our podcast. That means the world to us. So if you wouldn't mind, leave us a review. Let us know your feedback. What are you hearing that resonates with you? How does the material influence you during the week? It would be super helpful to hear your answers, and you can leave them in a review of our podcast wherever you listen, whether that's Podbean, Apple iTunes, TuneIn, etc. Thanks so much for your review. We really appreciate your feedback. Let's go ahead and get back to the show.
Hi, guys. Welcome to Threads Podcast, Life Unfiltered. We are excited to record episode 18. I know the old Facebook post said 17, but hey.
That's all right.
We're not perfect. So
we're not professionals.
No, we're not professionals. So thank you for joining us tonight. It's been, again, 2 weeks, and we're trying the live stream again, so hopefully that works good. Got some new equipment, so that was fun getting that going. And, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, but the live stream, thank you to XSplit for changing, or for Facebook to changing your stuff.
Yeah, it was an XSplit.
XSplit wasn't.
They're amazing. The apparently it takes time to upgrade code and all that other stuff. But
I wonder if Facebook clues them in to the fact that, hey, we're going to change our code.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they may, but they don't know. Like the companies can't figure it out until it actually goes live, and they're like, eh. I mean, it was kind of working, but it kept buffering. So any feedback, if anyone has it, I mean, there's not a lot we can do now that it's live. But if you guys have any feedback and says, hey, this is doing this, or the audio doesn't sound good, we would really appreciate it. It's been a couple of good weeks. Snowmageddon, 2019, no Apocalypse 2019. I was home every day with the kids from Monday to Friday. Did not work. Did not leave the house until Friday at noon. So it was okay. I was happy to see that the kids were okay. They were tolerable, and I mean,
tolerable. It's always good when the kids are tolerable.
Well, yeah. I mean, they were home. It was like spring break.
Yes, it was. It was a whole week off of school.
I never have gone anywhere for spring break because I've always been in the lawn care field, so we're always home. I shouldn't say spring break. Christmas break.
Sure.
They were home for a whole week, but I think maybe because there was no anticipation of presents and stuff like that. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I released the hounds on the screen time limitations. They were they were able to do whatever they wanted.
Yep.
So
our kids were too.
I mean, usually it's an hour a day, but
really, an hour?
That's it.
Wow, you're hardcore.
Well, I mean, an hour on their individual devices. If they want to watch a show in the living room with all of us around, we sometimes let them do that. But remember, I mean, you have a teenager. Yeah. So I would
sort of. He's not quite a teenager.
Oh, I thought he was 13.
He's 12.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah. But yeah. So how was your week with the Snowmageddon?
Gosh, it was pretty disastrous. I mean, so the kids were obviously snowed in. They loved every second of it. I did go to work on Monday and Tuesday.
Megan went on Tuesday, and I'm like, and she was home Monday, went Tuesday, and then was home Wednesday.
Yeah.
Realized I'm like, sweetie, it's terrible. Why'd you even try to go in on Tuesday?
Seriously. So Tuesday we shut down early, which doesn't happen unless it's like a summer holiday. That's the only other time it's happened. And then Wednesday we got the notice that we were just shut down for the day. So that was pretty great. But
because of your amazing internet?
Yeah. The internet at the office goes down.
I don't understand that.
I know. Whenever there's any sort of inclement weather, precipitation of any kind, it just goes down.
It's like a satellite.
Yeah. And so that was nice, having time off from work. But Monday was super stressful because, well, I took my car into the body shop. And
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So took my car into the body shop. Stefan was with me, my 12-year-old son, and we went and got lunch. Everything's going great. So we were sitting in the waiting room at the body shop for about an hour, and Enterprise failed to pick us up.
We'll pick you up.
Yeah. Nope. So the body shop owner, super nice guy, calls Enterprise and says, hey, what's the deal? I've got customers here that have been waiting for a ride. Gets off the phone, and he's like, hop in my truck. I'll take you. So he drove us there. Super nice guy. Went out of his way to help us. So we get to Enterprise and find out that the only rental available is a minivan or a pickup truck. I'm sorry. I don't want to be driving around a minivan. I'm kind of regretting that choice now.
I bet.
But so I picked the pickup truck. And of course, it was a rear wheel drive.
Say that 5 times fast.
Rear wheel drive.
That's one.
Yeah. Rear. I give up. It was a pain to drive that thing in the snow. So I drove that vehicle back to our house. We were going to go through the Taco Bell drive-thru to get some food for my son, who's always hungry.
Yeah.
And we couldn't even get through the drive-thru.
Because of the snow?
Of the snow. And the fact that it's a rear-wheel drive vehicle, and it just wasn't happening. So I had to reverse out of the drive-thru because I couldn't get enough traction to move forward in the car.
Goodness.
So that was great. And then we're about, quarter mile from home, turning onto our street, and out of nowhere, a snowplow truck comes flying out of a parking lot and hits the back fender of the rental pickup truck. So last week I had 2 open insurance claims. That was not fun.
Yeah, you had quite the week. The stories you were telling about that. It's just crazy. Now with Enterprise, did they forget to pick you up, or they're just like, it's so bad we're not going to pick you up?
They forgot to send somebody.
Okay.
So
I mean, I would understand if they said, you know what, I'm sorry, we're not sending our employees out. You'd have more respect for them just dropping the ball.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
Oh well. And I was going to call an Uber, and that's when the body shop owner was like, just wait, let me call him. And he kind of took care of it for us.
Nice.
And then he had some words with the manager at Enterprise.
Oh, really?
So,
Interesting.
So, yeah, it was a week. Snowpocalypse 2019. We survived.
Yeah, my kids don't, I talked to Avery about, you don't realize that the record that was set, like you'll talk about this, like us, I'm all excited about it because it's like, what a crazy, crazy thing that happened. Kids have never been, I mean, at least as far as I can remember, I need to talk to my dad to see if he remembers the storm of 78, if all the schools were shut down for a whole week like here. But she's like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. I'm like, honey, you'll be talking about this with your kids. Like back in 19, we had school closed for 5 straight days.
Yeah. There's some schools that had 6 because Friday was a snow day too. The previous Friday.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So
that's bizarre because my kids had a half day because of like an in-service or whatever.
Okay.
But anyways, we survived.
Yes, it was something.
I saw Wood Radio post that new thing where you can mark yourself safe. Yeah. They said, oh, no, that wasn't from Snowmageddon. That was for the temperature change. They did the little blue flag, mark safe from lowering my temperature to 65. By the way, did you do, oh, you did lower yours.
We did,
right.
To 68.
I raised mine 1 degree just to be that guy.
That doesn't surprise me.
Of course not.
Living up to your true self.
Right. So we are going to, since Ben forgot his transition and his computer, we're going to talk about some deeper crap, and I will let Ben explain what the deeper crap we're talking about.
Yeah, so tonight I did miss my cue.
It's
I
all
even
right.
had it highlighted.
I gave you a couple seconds, and then I was going to jump in.
And he forgot. Yep. Tonight we are going to switch things up a little bit. I know a lot of the world, or a lot of our country, is watching the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's right. We're just not super.
I'm not a sports guy.
Were you ever though?
No.
See, I was obsessed with sports.
Really?
Yeah, but I just kind of got busy with life and family and kids, and I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I come from a family of sports people.
People.
Yeah. My 2 brothers, I'm sure they're watching it and talking back and forth, but I just never got into sports.
Yeah. I mean, I would love if someone invited me to a Super Bowl party. I'd be like, Yeah, I'll come because I want to eat and drink a few beers, and it's just kind of fun, the camaraderie about it. But am I going to sit down every week and watch a 3.5 hour football game? I used to, but I'm not going to do that anymore. Yeah. So
see, when I was a kid, I just didn't get into the sports, but I did get into latch hook.
What?
Latch hook.
What's latch hook?
It's like a crafty thing where it's almost like knitting. It's like you pull a little piece of.
Are you trying to do a joke?
No.
Well, this is serious?
Yeah. You pull a little piece of
it's
yarn,
got a little hook on it.
And you pull it through the grid. So I didn't watch sports. I did latch hook.
You are not. I mean, if
I
you
even made a latch hook threads logo.
You did?
No, not really. But I had to find something to include.
I'm just going to let you know right now that if you were in the dating field and women heard that and that's what you did, you may struggle. Just FYI.
I'm totally aware of that.
Yeah.
And in fact, tonight we are talking about childhood. And yes, I did latch hook as a kid. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
I appreciate that.
Hashtag latch hook. I'm sure there's other people out there who did latch hook too.
For sure.
But tonight we're going to talk about childhood and how our experiences as kids shaped us or informed who we are today. Because we each have had certain challenges in our childhood. Maybe you've had more than I have in some ways. But those things certainly do influence the people we become. So tonight we're going to unpack some of that. We've got a bunch of questions here that I thought of and found on the web. And, it's not going to be a super structured format. We're going to just take a question and each of us will answer it and dialogue about it and just see where it goes from there.
I think before we start, I think we should give there's some people that might listen to this and not know my background, that know me and not know my background. And it might be a little bit of a shock.
Sure.
But just to say that, just a quick synopsis, I grew up in a Christian Reformed home, but I was abused as a child from my mother. So just to let you know that there may be some stories with that, although I don't have a lot of memories, but sure. I can unpack the emotions of how it's changed me as an adult.
Yeah.
So
I learned the hard way that cracking your mom jokes with Jason doesn't work really well.
No.
So, yeah, that's when I started to get clued into some of the stuff that was part of your childhood.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah. Fun in a weird way.
Right. Yeah. So that's the
gist.
The gist of
Do you
want to
do just a quick, I don't know if you need to do a 1-minute intro.
Sure. About my childhood?
Yeah, just so, just so people can kind of put it in perspective. Just saying I was abused as a kid, people can immediately go, okay, this was probably not a good place for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you might be like, oh, I wasn't abused, but whatever it was. And you don't, and anything like Ben and I talked about before that we would be okay to be like, I don't want to talk about that. Although my wife would want me to talk about that because she wants me to get deeper.
Yes.
So go ahead.
My childhood can be summed up in the word, we'll go with struggle. I had numerous health issues, whether it was a broken femur when I was 3 years old, which has led me to walk with a little bit of a limp ever since.
Mm-hmm.
That happened. Let's see. I could just go through a litany of all the injuries that happened when I was a kid. But some of the bigger ones would be the breaking my leg. I had heart surgery. Just some pretty major stuff that happened when I was a kid that definitely impacted my ability to be a kid.
Yeah.
My cousins were over for a game night recently, and we were just kind of talking about childhood. And the common theme that came up was, it seemed like you were always hurt or injured in some way. And it's true. There was a Christmas party where I slipped on ice and broke my wrist. And
are you just a klutz?
Yeah, I kind of was a calamity kid.
Okay. Megan's kind of like that too a little bit. She didn't break anything, but it seems like she's got the dropsies all the time.
Oh yeah. So
trips over stuff.
I was the calamity kid. I was also a very sensitive kid. And
really?
Yeah. I know that's not surprising.
No.
Not at all. I still am. I wear my heart on my sleeve. But yeah, growing up, calamity kid, sensitive, and I would say non-standard. Like I wasn't into the typical things that.
Well, duh. You talked about latch hook. I didn't even know what it was until, and then I probably had done it. I remember that little hook. I don't know, maybe it was a project at school, but I do remember that little hook you pull it through.
That was fun.
Do you still have some of your old ones?
I don't.
Oh, darn it.
Nope. In fact, I mentioned it to Stefan, and he was like, "No way! That sounds so stupid. Why would you do that?" It's like, well, it's cool to see what you make.
And then you're like, "Hey, bro, I didn't have Fortnite back in the 80s. Like,
seriously,
no internet. Do you know what that's like? No, shush."
Yeah. But speaking of internet, I was definitely a nerd too as a kid. So I was one of the early adapters of the internet. I remember when it was just like text on a screen and So yep. Oh yeah, dial-up internet, and the text only games.
And then your dumbass sister would pick up the phone, it would disconnect it. I'm like, "Come on."
Yep. Oh yeah.
Tina.
So that's my childhood in the background. And I would also say, with all of that, you could probably assume this, but I was bullied and picked on.
Yeah.
I was not, your typical cool kid or whatever you want to call it.
So were you picked on because you were a nerd?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Were you overweight?
No, not as a kid.
So this is
underweight.
This is recent now?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. As
you're working your ass off to lose it, and you're doing a good job. I was just wondering because Megan's been heavy her whole life, and so she really struggled with high school, but she was funny, so that helps.
Yeah. See, I packed on all the pounds after an injury.
Oh, okay.
Yep. After I broke my back.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, that was a long 1-minute intro.
I know. Okay. I'm sorry.
Shut up, Shipped. I need to turn those notifications off.
I just like to talk.
No, you don't. You like to talk to a certain amount, and then you're like, I need my intro or introvert time.
It's true.
So, all right, we're going to kind of bounce back and forth, and I know it will seem kind of boring, so some of the questions are kind of pretty standard, but it's good to get a picture of each other. And there's some things in here like, I don't know anything about Ben. I mean, Ben and I's relationship is relatively new in the grand scheme of our total lives lived.
We're about at a year.
Yeah, which is bizarre. I feel like I've known you. Like our families haven't hung. Like just the one time that
just one time.
Yeah, but I mean, Ben and I talk every day, so I feel like I've known you way longer than 1 year. So, okay. Question 1: when were you born? In what ways do you identify with the decade you were born in? So you were born in.
I was born in 1984.
Okay.
So,
elder millennial, they call it.
Yeah. That's fair. And when you think about the 80s, well, at least when I think about the 80s, those memes on the internet about going home when the lights go off, when the street lights come on or whatever.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, definitely identify with that.
I do too.
Like we would go out and play Kick the Can, except I don't remember the rules for Kick the Can, but I know our neighborhood kids would play Kick the Can.
How, like, what's the word? Not original, something original, but there's another word for it. Like, seriously, like you really played Kick the Can.
I remember that. And then we would play hide and seek throughout the neighborhood. So yeah, definitely a lot of that hanging out with the neighbors type of thing was very much a part of my younger childhood. I wish I could remember some of the names of the people that I hung out with in the neighborhood so I could Facebook stalk them.
Yeah.
But I can't remember all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think during our questions here, we'll alternate so one of us doesn't get put on the spot each time. So I can relate to all of that. I actually know my neighbors' names, all of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you Facebook friends?
I am Facebook friends with one of them.
Okay.
Yeah. But as soon as high school ended, everyone split. Like I have no friends from high school. I lied. That one, Jana from the one, her husband is Dave and does our finances, or not our finances, but our retirement.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the only one. But we didn't hang out in high school. So, and we weren't neighborhood friends. So I know I kind of jumped off topic there. But
that's all right.
I was born in 1976 in the great city of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and lived in Jenison till I was 19. And then, moved on. So,
you didn't move very far.
No, I moved. Yeah, I moved to Byron, but then to Granville. I don't really. I honestly, even though I was born in 76 and 6 years older than Ben, I identify as an. Oh, I should not. I almost said I identify as a millennial.
Wait, what?
I identify the same kind of.
You know that is recorded.
Yeah, I'm going to edit that out. I identify in the same kind of things like we played wiffle ball. I mean,
wiffle.
Yeah, wiffle ball. Is it wiffle? It's wiffle ball.
Yeah.
I always say wiffle ball. Oh, do you want to go? Okay. Please say bagel.
Bagel?
No, you said it like...
I said bagel.
Yeah, he says bagel. I need to go get a bag of bagels.
Yeah.
It's bagel.
No, it's bagel.
Anyways, I do call it wiffle ball. It's actually wiffle. I think it's wiffle.
It's wiffle.
We need a fact check.
It is wiffle.
It is wiffle.
I've never heard wiffle.
Wiffle.
Until I met you.
No, I remember just playing wiffle ball and kickball and riding their bikes, and the lights go on from the street and you head home. So let's see. Sum up my childhood in 3 words. Pretty damn shitty. And I will say that I had everything I needed. I had food, water, shelter, clothes.
The necessities were taken care of.
And more than that. Like I got Reebok pumps. I mean, not that I was spoiled, but there was the other thing, everything else was pretty crappy. So what about you? 3 words. You said struggle earlier, so I'm challenging you to use a different word than struggle.
Yes.
Or struggling, I think you said.
Yeah. Let's see. Did my own thing.
Did my own thing.
Did my thing.
Fail.
My own thing.
Hey, you're good at math, too. Come on, dude.
I know, right? Wait, what? Did you just say I was good at math?
I mean, you're better than I am. Well, you're great at grammar.
Yeah.
You're more intellectual than me.
Okay.
So I'll give you that.
Well, thank you.
So say that again. What was the 3 words?
My own thing.
My own thing.
I kind of beat to my own drum a little bit.
Okay.
And that, of course, invited people to pick on me. And, elementary school was awesome. I loved it. But once I got to middle school and I was so different.
Yeah, the hormones, everyone turns in an a-hole.
Yeah.
Including myself.
Yeah, you probably would have picked on me if we were in school together.
I didn't do a lot of picking.
Okay.
Surprisingly, as aggressive as I am, I didn't do a ton of it.
Sure.
I did bully a few people.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I think everybody
But
has.
I'm not bully. That's a term. And I was bullied quite a bit by the stoners.
Oh, yeah.
You know the stoners? Like, do kids have cliques like that now? The stoners?
I think so.
I only thought about this. Or the burnout. A burnout is another. Well, now stoner, burnout, I guess it's kind of the same thing. But, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. So, yeah, I kind of beat to my own drum, and I love that. And when I look at my daughter, Miracle's the same way.
Yeah.
We have a lot in common, just in our approach and view of life. So, but more about me. I remember getting picked on the bus or getting picked on at school because I wasn't super athletic and I was in a class of jocks basically. And, I couldn't do as many pull-ups as them. And
you went to Zeeland Christian or public?
Zeeland Christian.
Till high school, right?
Through 8th grade.
And then you went to the public?
To public school.
See, that's rough.
It was amazing though.
Yeah, it was good for you?
The public school, absolutely.
It was better than the Christian school?
So much better.
That's so hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of really came into my own in 9th grade when I was a high schooler. I found my friend base through church, youth group, and I always felt safe there. Like I didn't feel like people picked on me.
That's so good to hear. I was going to ask you, do you you don't send your kids to Christian school. You went to a Christian school. I did my whole life, and I didn't either. I just feel like my parents struggled financially and not borrowed money from the church. I think the church had a program set up.
Scholarships, probably.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like my daughter goes to youth group, Avery, and she loves it. And we go to church every Sunday. Like, I don't know. I can't. I guess I can't say because I didn't go to public school, so I can't say. But I'm interested to hear your feedback of how it was so much more amazing. So it makes me feel a little bit better not sending my kids to Christmas. I mean, no offense to anyone that does. That's a personal choice. It is like drinking a Monster or drinking water. I mean, I mean, to dumb it down to that much, it's a personal choice, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. So, let's see what else. Were you done with that? I'm sorry. Please tell me if I'm stepping on you. I'm trying real hard.
No, I think it's a good point to wrap that up. But yeah, middle school was just difficult.
Yeah.
In the fact that I got picked on about every little thing. Like I remember being on the bus and one of the cool kids was like looking at my hands and he's like, "Your knuckles look like you've been on the computer all day." I'm just like,
what does that even mean?
What do you, like a lot of the stuff they came up with, I was like, seriously? And then I remember being in the greenhouse at school and we had a greenhouse like as part of our science unit.
That's cool.
And I just remember we were talking about fruit flies that day and how they reproduce rapidly and everything.
Yeah.
And somehow the joke became Ben's a fruit fly and he rapidly reproduces, and like they just ran with that as the silly joke. And I went home that day. Like I left school early because I just had enough.
Yeah.
I'm looking back, it's like that really wasn't that big of a deal.
I know, but it is in the moment.
But in the moment, I was
terrible.
Crushed. I was super embarrassed and just like, get me out of here.
No, I don't blame you.
So,
that's tough.
So yeah, that was, middle school was really hard. Elementary school was not bad, other than the physical stuff. Like, I had heart surgery the summer between first and second grade. Or no, between kindergarten and first grade. Yeah. So that was something. And, you know, a couple of other things over the years too. So, but elementary was good. I loved building forts.
Who doesn't?
Inside and outside. We lived kind of on a wooded lot. So we would go out in the woods and make all kinds of things. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Next question. What is your first vivid memory? So you're on point for this one. I will let you know, memory stuff is tough for me, so I may struggle in that aspect. So
I don't know if it's the first, but it's, I guess we'll go with the first vivid memory. It would be when I broke my leg as a 3-year-old. I can remember my parents being on the phone with the 911 people, and I was in shock, so I wasn't even crying. Like, I was just laying on the ground. I can just remember looking up, hearing my parents on the phone, and kind of like, what just happened?
Right.
So I was playing Ring Around the Rosie with my older brother, and he swung me a little too hard, and I went flying and broke my femur bone.
Oh, boy.
So that was fun.
Your parents called 911?
I think so. Pretty sure.
It's bizarre. I would have just, let's go. Let's go to the med center.
I think they did take me. I think they were just freaking out. Like, what do we do?
I should talk. Sully split his knee open like 4 years ago, and I freaked out up at the cabin. I think I remember I told you that story. I'm like freaking out. I'm like, Megan's like, seriously? Calm down. Like, just calm down. So my first vivid memory is, honestly, is one of the times that I got hit. And I remember I was in the kitchen and up against a certain wall. Like, I know it's hard to like visualize that if you've never been there to our house, but yeah, I just remember my mom coming at me, and that sucks. Like, I talked to my therapist, and as we were doing the work for, what's the stupid thing that I'm going to do?
EMDR.
Thank you. What does it stand for?
Oh
boy.
You got me.
Yeah, it's
movement of your eyes.
Yeah, it's basically eye movement, and they somehow are able to they want you to kind of bring up that memory, and they want to process it in a healthy way. So one of the questions for that work, and no, I have not started soon, was give me your first memory that you can think of. And that was about at age 7. And that was one of them. So it's just like, seriously, like that's my memory, my first memory. Cause they want to start at that and then kind of go forward, or if they need to go back. But I'm like, yeah, it was not good. Like I can picture it now. I wish I could like use my words to describe it, but
Do you ever find yourself driving by the old house that you grew up in?
Well, my dad, they still live there.
Oh, wow. So is that hard to be in that house?
It's not too bad. I think I've worked through that. It's super hard when everyone's in the house. Like my sisters are there, because then there's a lot. I think my sisters haven't. They've moved away pretty quickly after they got out of high school.
Okay.
So I think they have more trouble with it, and then when they're having trouble with it, it kind of just everyone feeds off each other. But
so were you the only one that was abused, or were your sisters too?
My sisters were too. Not as physical as me, because they're girls. They got more of the emotional end of it. So yeah.
So is that something that you guys talk about often?
My sisters?
Yeah, like when you're together?
Not really. My sister Nicole and I talk quite a bit about that, but not my sister Megan. I mean, we're cool with it. Like, we've processed through it, but it's just kind of something that we've moved on from each other.
Sure.
Like, everything's cool with that. But it's just kind of your mom's online. She just said, no, we didn't call 911. We called the doc.
Well, she called somebody. I know
that
much.
Your mom's fact checking you.
I know. Thanks, man. Mom. Yes, but I remember them being on the phone.
Right.
I'm looking up at the ceiling in our living room.
I'm just teasing you because your mom called you out. I just think it's, I mean, I would probably have said the same thing. You don't realize it. You're figuring they're calling somebody.
Yeah.
So,
I figured it was, Thanks, Mom. Fact check.
I just happened to
mom.
check over to the comments.
That's awesome.
But
love you, Mom.
But yeah, it was, I hope that doesn't inhibit you today.
What do you mean?
That your mom's online.
Wow.
Okay.
Seriously, my mom has been. I'm a mama's boy. I'll just put that out there.
No.
Yeah, I know, right?
I actually wouldn't have guessed that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just from briefly what you've spoken about.
Yeah. Well, growing up, my mom, I mean, she just always had my back, and she was always in my corner, and always had a listening ear. And I was super close to her and to my grandpa, which would be her dad.
Well, I figure like if your brothers were super sporty, maybe they connected more with your dad.
Oh,
just because
definitely.
I think dads are kind of like that. Like, oh, your kid's playing, it just kind of is what it is.
Yeah,
so.
and like hunting, I never got into hunting.
No.
But my brothers and my dad to this day
really
are super into hunting.
Oh, interesting.
So,
gosh, I never would have thought that. I mean, I knew you're not into hunting, but that's such a dynamic in a house.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I'm just, again, different. And that's okay. Like, I've come to accept that. I like being different.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's like, I mean, it's kind of a moot point. Is that the right? Moot?
Moot.
Did I say it right? I always check on you because you're the grammar. Like, I always tell Megan, if you ever hear anything on a podcast, like, tell me that I screwed up, and maybe I'll try to work on it, but I'll probably forget. But
Jesper always says it's a mute point, and I just want to be like, dude, it's moot.
Well, he is
moot.
Danish.
It's true. So,
all right, let's check. Let's get on the next one, and this one's mine to answer first. How did your family compare to families in the neighborhood? Was your family richer or poorer or whatever? We're about the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone, traditionally, most neighborhoods, they're all probably somewhere at the median, or they're all kind of average. I mean, depending on when someone buys a house, obviously, if they bought it a ton of time ago, they may make more money now, but whatever. But yeah, we were all pretty even. I mean, the neighbor next to us seemed to have all nicer stuff quicker and faster than us. But yeah. Oh, I just have this weird story. It's going to make me sound terrible. Can I say it?
Go for it.
Speaking of neighborhoods, so we had the trashiest family that lived like kitty corner. Like, we talk about medium income. I don't think they were medium. This was a little lower.
Oh, I have a very similar family. I mean, just the word trashy, that's probably what I would use to describe them. I think everybody has that in their neighborhood.
Like, currently you have one?
No, like growing up, I did.
I got one currently, like 2 doors down.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I could tell you stories about it.
Awesome.
But Yeah, so this is terrible. I'm going to sound like a complete asshole. So just know that, I would never condone this, but we used to, all the neighbor kids that I was friends with, there was this one girl that was kind of the same age. We would like force her to drink like nasty like concoctions of mud and water and stuff. Like, I don't even know what our point was, but we were so mean to her. I feel so bad. If I could remember their name, I would look them up and say I was a complete dirtbag. Yeah, we used to do like nothing like super weird, but just like be super like if you want to be friends with us, you're gonna do this, and just be a complete jerk. Oh, I feel so terrible. Their house was nasty. Like my friend who actually bought that house, they pretty much had to gut it.
Oh man,
and rebuild it. Wow. So I didn't mean to get off topic, but yeah, everyone was pretty much the same. I hung out with like my neighbors kind of right next to me for like forever. Until even in high school, we kind of hung out, but then kind of split up. So, what about you?
Yeah, so my family was very similar to other families in the neighborhood. Both of my parents worked, and that was pretty standard, except for a couple. I remember there was one family, the dad was a doctor. So, of course...
Your both parents was standard in your neighborhood? Because, like, my mom really didn't work much.
Well, I think it was probably... Here we go again. My mom's probably going to fact check this, which is okay.
Yeah.
But...
I was just asking because I feel like in the 80s, that wasn't the norm, that the husband and wife both worked.
Well, my mom worked, but she was able to be at home with us when we got off the bus.
Oh, okay.
So she would work late nights at the nursing home.
Okay.
Taking care of the elderly residents. And then in high school, she took a job with her best friend at a trucking company. Okay. Doing payroll for them and whatnot. So. Okay. And that was pretty standard in our neighborhood. It seemed like, mom would work an odd job, not a 9 to 5 or anything like that. But then the dad would also obviously be the main breadwinner. Yeah. So I remember the house behind us, that was the case. And they had a pool. So that was awesome growing up to somebody with a pool in our backyard. Yeah. We got to know them pretty well. And then there was a doctor in the neighborhood, but you wouldn't know it if you were to just look at him or look at their family. It's not like they lived a life of excess. And I really respected that about them. Yeah. So,
or he just was in so much debt. What kind of doctor was he? Do you remember?
I don't remember that detail.
Okay. But interesting. Yeah, we had a pool too. That was awesome.
Oh yeah.
From basically my dad, we still have the original pool there when I was 2.
Wow.
That's when they put it in.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And it's still there?
Yeah. I mean, we've obviously had to put new linings in and stuff like that, but.
Yeah. So I'd say we were right in line. We weren't richer. We weren't poorer. We were pretty standard for our neighborhood. And, yeah.
Okay. What other questions do you want? I'll let you kind of pick one.
Let's see here.
Because you get to answer first, so on this one.
This one is one that I put in bold. A little preface to this. I had a paper route as a kid.
So did I.
And it was like a thing in our family. And for a while, we would rotate days. That eventually turned into just me. And then it would go back to rotating with my brothers. So one of the Crocker boys would be delivering the paper in the neighborhood. Was really what it boils down to.
I think I have asked you, was it a daily paper?
It was.
So like the Grand Sentinel. Oh, okay. So like the Grand Rapids Press.
Yeah. Yep. So that was a blast. And I would save up my money, and the main thing I would buy with my money, and this is true with the paper route and when I was working at Family Fair, the main thing that I would buy with my money was Christian music CDs.
Shut up.
Nope.
Shut up. You're lying.
Honest to God truth. No, it's the truth. In my old bedroom in the closet, there are all the jewel cases from the CDs that I bought, and there are so many. And I have a CD book, 4 CDs on the front and 4 on the back. So each page holds 8.
Yeah.
And then there's probably 10 to 20 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would spend all my money on Christian music CDs.
No wonder your mom loved you. Holy cow.
I know. So that was what I spent my money on. So that ties into the question, what music did you listen to? Again, kind of going to my own drum beat growing up, I wasn't really into all the music that the other kids were. It's really interesting, though, because now, as an adult, I really am into like the 90s music that I never listened to as a kid, but now I do. I don't understand, but yeah, I would listen to Christian music, and it was basically, I don't know. If I were to listen to the CDs now, I'd probably cringe because it's just like, what is this?
You probably drive off the road. I think Christian music, like there's a couple of bands that play on my hard rock station. Like Skillet and 1,000 Foot Crutch. But back then it sucked. That music sucked.
Point of Grace. I had listened to Point of Grace.
I don't know.
It was all these chicks.
Never heard of any of them. The only one is one that used to be a rapper you told me about that I've heard. What's the, not DMX. No, that's definitely not
Toby
Christian.
Mac.
No, there was, DC Talk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who's the lead guy in that? You told me a story
Toby
about
Mac.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Kevin Max.
Okay.
I could go into all the history of contemporary Christian music.
Please don't.
That would be a bore, though.
Yeah, it would be super boring. Super boring. Yeah, 45 minutes in, people would be dropping. I got a timer right here on our little live stream. So we're 45 minutes in.
Hey, cool.
You done with the music part?
Yeah. What about you? What kind of music did you listen to?
Well, I'm going to tie in the same thing with the money. I had a paper out, Grand Rapids Press, and man, my dad, bless his heart, we'd get up. Did you have to do like Saturday and Sunday?
Yep.
So,
Sundays were the worst with all the inserts.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we'd have to get up in the morning, and then like we'd hope that it came early on Saturday so we could fold them and bag them before. Like, man, he would get up every freaking Sunday. Like even when I had a driver's license, I still needed somebody to do it with me because you had to put him. We actually put him in the mailbox.
Really?
Back in the day.
Wow.
We didn't. I don't know if the post office had a relationship or we just did it and hoped they got it out before the mail came. But no, I actually saved my money and bought a brand spanking new Honda Elite. It was black with pink trim. So like kind of our GR Rideshare logo.
Yeah.
Like, but it wasn't like super. It was like the lift pink.
Sure.
But it was just very. Oh, that thing was badass.
That's awesome.
Brand new. 0 miles. It was
Wow.
$800 brand new. Back in like 92. Yeah, I probably got it in 92 because that's when I was like 16. So
nice.
Yeah. So the music, it doesn't really tie in, I guess, my
That's
music.
all right.
But the music I listened to was definitely not Christian. I listened to Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, AC/DC, and my mom hated it.
Oh,
and
yes.
that's one of the reasons probably why I listened to it. Like I had to hide a lot of it because like the album that I grew up with Motley Crue was Dr. Feelgood, and it had like this skull and bones on the front cover and stuff. And she, I kind of went the exact opposite way. I was kind of anti-religion back then because they were cramming it down my throat.
Oh yeah.
We went to church twice a day.
And it's every day at school.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went twice on Sunday. Like I hated more than anything in life itself is the PM service. We had to go to the PM service. I already went once. Now it's hard to find a church that has a PM service, which is great. I'm like, thank you. Finally, why do we need to go twice? Like we're talking about resting on the Sabbath,
right,
and spending time with family. And I get it. You know, you're there with your family, but I mean, especially with young kids, it's a pain in the butt to get kids wrapped up, and it's the winter. I mean, whatever.
As a teenager, I looked forward to Sunday night church.
Did you?
But there's a caveat there.
Yeah.
It wasn't for the service. And in fact, I would show up late to the service.
Oh.
But my youth group did this thing called Snack.
Okay.
Sunday night after church.
Oh.
Yeah.
See what you did there.
Yeah. It was awesome. We would go to a different house every week.
Okay.
Or we'd go to McDonald's, whatever. We'd just hang out.
Was that so that wasn't your actual youth group night? That was just an added bonus?
It was just an added bonus.
Oh, that's
It was
cool.
something that the families in the church kind of put together.
That's real cool.
So that was the highlight. So some of us, I mean, yeah, I did it quite a bit. we would show up, for the last song of church.
Yeah.
And then go to snack afterwards.
Yeah, just make yourself look good. Kind of sneak in, do the last song, praise Jesus, and let's go hang with our friends.
Yep.
Hey, at least you were. I like that. I like that the youth group did that. So, yeah, that was kind of the music. I kind of rebelled with that. Oh man, I love that music. I can think of that like playing in my cassette player, Motley Crue cassette. I said, did everyone hear that?
It wasn't an 8-track.
No, I'm not that old. Come on, dude. That's your mom and dad's generation. Let's see. Let's do, what kind of school did you go to? Were you a good student?
Yeah.
I know you've touched on that a little bit. I went to Christian school. I've touched on it too. Went to Unity Christian. Good student? Nah. I mean, I was like C average.
Sure.
Maybe between C and B average. My favorite subject, my son, recess.
Yes.
That's what he says every time.
Awesome.
I liked science and history, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just like learning about those kind of things. Hated math, hated English.
Oh, yeah.
This is a big shock to you that I hated English, huh? I don't know what I would do without spell check.
Seriously.
There's an app we use, Telegram, that we've talked about before. Maybe we haven't talked about on here, but there's a desktop version. And it doesn't have spell check on it. I'm like, okay. The guys always know when I'm like typing on the desktop because it's like, what?
Yeah, say that again.
Right.
So,
favorite teacher. Yeah, I do have one. Her name was Mrs. Stodema. I think she's passed. 3rd grade teacher. Just amazing. I feel like she knew what was going on at home. Like, I just kind of feel like she never said it, but I felt like I got extra attention from her.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Least favorite, subject. Well, we talked about that. Did I have a least favorite teacher? I would have to say my band director. He was crazy. Like he was a guy that he was a redhead, and then he had like a ton of freckles on his face, like, which it kind of goes with redheads a lot, but he would get so angry his face would turn bright red. And I don't know if he was just an a-hole or if he was just passionate about music, but man, if we weren't paying attention, why did I go to band every day though? Like, why did I continue till I graduated?
What did you play?
Oh gosh, do you want to hear? I started out as, do you ever hear my drum story?
I mean, I know you have a drum room here.
Right, that I don't currently, I'm on a hiatus.
It's all right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so in 4th grade, I think they came around and said, what instrument do you want to play? I'm like, I want to play the drums. And he's like, oh, we already have, and this was the same dude, like, that I graduated.
He was there forever.
Forever. And he's like, oh, we already have a ton of drummers. Why don't you? And I was like, oh, I kind of got peer pressured from this guy. He's like, why don't you do cornet? So I did. You know what a cornet is?
It's kind of like a trumpet.
Right. Yeah. Just a different, not as sharp. It's a smaller brass. But so I did the cornet. I did 1 year of violin like before.
Really?
Band. Yeah. I didn't like that. Did cornet for a long time. And then I switched to baritone, which is in between a trombone and a tuba. And then my 4 years in high school, I was tuba.
Really? That's awesome.
Because it was easy.
Yeah.
It was so easy. It was like 6 notes. Right.
Nice.
So what about you? School, you went to Zeeland Public.
So I went to Zeeland Christian.
And then public.
From preschool through 8th grade.
Right.
And loved elementary. My favorite teacher was Mr. Sneller.
Sneller.
Yes, he was my 2nd grade teacher. This guy, I ran into him at Qdoba a few years ago, and I think we're Facebook friends now. Still just such a genuine guy. Like, he loves to teach. I think he's still teaching, which is awesome. But he was not afraid to do things differently. And as a kid who kind of did my own thing.
Yeah, you kind of like that.
I loved that about him. Like, I remember he had a loft in his classroom that you could go up and read in. And then underneath there were couches so you could read there. And then he also had a cabinet that he would somehow climb up on top of and teach from on top of the cabinet.
Oh, that's bizarre.
When it's really funny because there was a prospective family that was touring the school to find out if they wanted to send their kids there. And they walk into our 2nd grade classroom, and Mr. Sneller is on top of the cabinet teaching. And the family just kind of looked with wide eyes and like, what's going on in here?
Right.
So, but he was just such a good guy. And He was funny. He told all kinds of, I mean, they were funny to me, but they were very dry dad joke type jokes.
Oh, no wonder you love him.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, he was just a good guy, and he took the time to get to know me, and all throughout my time at Zeeland Christian, even through 8th grade, he was there, and he would be like a person that I could go talk to.
Okay.
If I was having a tough time.
Excellent.
So,
even in like the 8th grade, you.
Oh yeah, he was around.
I mean, you still felt comfortable like only having him in 2nd grade, and then probably never having him again.
Not as a teacher. Well, actually, he did teach computers.
Oh, okay.
So he was definitely around, maybe just not as much as 2nd grade.
Okay.
So, I was an exceptional student. I mean, I was a brown noser. Still am. No, teachers really liked me. They liked having me in their classes. I never gave any behavioral issues. I paid attention. I did the work. I did struggle with, I know this is going to be a surprise to you, procrastination and putting things off to the last minute.
You hurt my heart when you do that.
I know. I drive Jason crazy with my ways. But yeah, other than that, like I was a pretty good student. I think I was an A and B student. Occasionally I'd get a couple C's, whatever.
Heaven forbid.
I know. But I did not like math. I only made it through advanced algebra in high school. And there's freshmen that take that class in their freshman year. And I did it as a senior. So
I thought you were good at math for some reason.
I think I am now, but in school I was not.
Yeah.
But I loved social studies and English. Like language arts and stuff.
Yeah.
So I remember I got bonus points regularly on tests because I would write story problems where I would solve the problem with a story, and my teachers just loved that.
In what, like social studies?
In science.
Oh, in science.
Like there was a simple question about bird baths and what the temperature of the air would be compared to what temperature ice would form at, which is pretty clear. It's 32 degrees.
Yeah.
So I could have just wrote 32 degrees and be done, but I had to make a story about it. And I gave the birds names. I was such a nerd.
Thank you for saying that.
I was such a nerd growing up. But I would get bonus points. So if I got something wrong on the test, it would be made even by my creativity.
That's good. That's cool. That's cool. I like that.
So
I was going to ask you, do you, and this is a little not off topic, but as in regards to your kids, do you see them like, and I know they're adopted, but that really doesn't matter because they learn your stuff.
Yeah, nurture.
Do you ever see them and be like, ooh, I don't want you to do that because like, you're going to get mocked so bad. Like, I'm not sure why I'm whispering, but.
You know, I think the climate has changed in today's schools.
Okay.
They put, you know, for as snowflakish as they are, I think it's okay at school.
You know, you're right. I think that snowflake issue is actually a bonus for that because people are more there's a lot of weirdos.
Yeah.
I mean, and I say weirdos and not to be mean, but just people are more accepting of beating at your own drum. Yeah. I guess.
And my daughter just loves school, and she's very much like her dad. She does her own damn thing.
Right.
And, you know, it's not often that I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't do that at school. It's more, oh my gosh, I can't believe how similar we are right now, and you're being so stubborn, and you're being just like me when I was that age, and I'm really ticked about that. So,
yeah, one thing I've changed a little bit, and my mom, my sister Nicole, struggles with an eating disorder, and a lot of that is from the emotional abuse that she had, always wanting to get small because she was very loud and boisterous and always dancing and singing, and everyone yelled at her for it, like including me. I'm like, shut up, Nicole, shut up, Nicole. Like that was like it sounds terrible, but everyone would tell her to shut up, including my mom. And so that I think had a lot to do with her eating disorder. But one thing that I do with Avery is I let her fly her freak flag.
Oh yeah.
So
that's awesome.
it's hard for me because I'm like, this is annoying as hell. I don't want to be listening to this. And so,
right.
You know, like Nicole would dance around the house and like everyone would just come down so hard on her. So like with Avery, I'm like, whatever. I mean, as long as she's not like being absurd with it.
Right. Yeah.
But she flips around the house and does dancing and, you know, typical girl. But I just let her do her thing.
It's awesome.
You know, and that's going to pay dividends in the future for saying, you know, like, yeah, my dad let me kind of just, you know, we had rules. I feared them, but I mean, I knew that I could, you know, like, I'm sure my sister was like afraid to do
to be herself.
And I think that had a lot to do with her struggling with the eating disorder, because she's always thinking about, I need to be small. I need to not bother anybody. So that, that's some tough stuff. So
no kidding.
Yeah. But, so I think we should get in some deeper stuff.
Let's do it.
And I don't want to. I don't know who's up answering first, but, how was discipline handled in your home? I'll let you go first.
Yeah. Man, it was, my dad was the disciplinarian, and you just talked about Avery fearing you. Oh, I definitely feared my dad.
Yeah, but you didn't fear him like you feared him when you were in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Oh, hands down, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he has big hands. That's where I get my big hands from.
Yeah.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
And he could spank really hard.
So you were spanked as a child?
We absolutely were.
Okay.
Yep. And I have mixed feelings about that. We did spank our kids for a short time back when we lived in Oregon, and didn't work. We just did not feel like it did anything productive.
Yeah, that's such a hot topic, right?
It is.
I have spanked my kids, even with the abuse in my background. I did, you know, there's certain things. If my kid runs in the street, I'm beating his ass. You know what? And I say that in jest.
Love.
In jest? Is that the right?
Yeah, sure.
In love. I didn't
in jest.
I didn't beat their ass. I was trying to be fancy. That monster just kicking your ass, isn't it? I see you. It does it for me too. We should drink water.
I should have had some water along with it to chase it down.
Right. Where was I going with that? Well, I lost my train of thought.
Kid running in the street.
Oh yeah, because like me putting you in a timeout isn't going to be effective, but me spanking you, because your safety's involved. Like, though there was a couple of things I would spank for, but yeah, I agree on some level. It doesn't need to be for everything. I mean, you screwed around at the table and you spill the juice. You don't need to get your butt spanked. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. That's something where you can lose a privilege or whatever. Yeah. But there are people out there that are hi ho on the spanking. He beat my dad beat my ass. I'm like, yeah, you sound like a real great adult.
Seriously.
Like, I mean, so
yeah. So it was definitely spanking, and I remember my dad and my older brother would just get into it with each other.
Yeah.
They were so much alike that they got at it.
Yeah.
Turned physical a couple of times. I remember my older brother kind of taking off and running out into the field across the street, which is now a subdivision, of course. But,
well, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he would just take off mad, and my dad was mad. So discipline was not fun in our house.
Okay.
We didn't do timeout, or, you know.
I don't even think that was a thing.
I know.
Like,
we did get grounded.
Yeah, grounded.
That's one thing that I do with my kids.
Yeah.
And Stefan hates it. Like, the whole week that he had no school, he was grounded from his Xbox.
Ooh.
And we did not let up. Like,
That's
it was
rough.
getting to Wednesday and Thursday, and I was talking with Andy, and I was like, maybe we should just let him have it again. And she's like, no, he's grounded. Doesn't matter if there's no school. It's like,
right.
You're right. Okay.
It's tough, though. It's tough.
It was. So yeah, I remember being grounded a lot. I would mouth off. So things would happen at school, middle school especially, and I didn't handle it well. I didn't talk to anybody. I would just come home and just be explosive, like kicking my dresser, yelling at my mom and dad. I remember cussing out my mom a couple of times, and by that point, they didn't spank anymore. It was just, you're grounded. Go to your room.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think, you would never spank Stefan now.
No.
Because it's too old.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's really, is that going to work? He'd probably look at you. I don't know, although you're a big dude, you could probably do some damage on the booty. But at that point, you're like kind of, well, that's when the abuse stopped for me when I was 13. I was able to overpower my mom. And as soon as she figured out that I think I don't remember a poignant moment where it was like, this is it. But I do remember a couple of times when, I don't remember the moment where it stopped, but a couple of times, she come in and I grabbed her wrist as she came in and stopped it. And I think she was like, oh, he's starting to stand up for himself. And then I think she kind of focused on my sisters a little bit. But I think at a certain age, even abuse will stop just because I just got bigger than her.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got bigger than
Natural.
her. Right. So, yeah, I mean, to wrap the spanking thing up, I think it's fine for certain things, and I still stand behind that, even with the abusive background. But I mean, I probably shouldn't have spanked because the way I was taught, there probably could have been some issues where I crossed the line. I didn't, but I probably shouldn't have done that.
Sure.
But, yeah. So, how is discipline handled in my home?
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, obviously, my mom had a terrible life. She was with 5 sisters, and they were all abused by my grandma, and terrible things. Like, my mom would tell me times where she would gather all, like, I feel like my grandma was like schizophrenic. I mean, it was rough. But she would gather all the girls around and stick her head in the oven, so she was going to kill herself. Like, straight up turn the oven on, stick her head in there. What? Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Ooh. Like, yeah, I mean, that's tough. Like, that's one of the stories I remember. And so it's not excusing the way my mom treated or did to us, but she did what she was taught. And I broke that cycle I don't beat my kids. Yeah. And I don't need a congratulatory. My therapist would be like, you need to be proud of that. I'm like, I am, but I'm not the one that walks around that says, like, I did this, like, pat me on the back. Yeah. Maybe I am. I don't know. But yeah.
It is pretty amazing that you have not resorted to that, though. I mean, because that's what you grew up with. It's what your mom grew up with.
Yeah.
You totally broke the cycle.
Yeah, and my parents, they did send me to a lot of therapies, which at the time I was like anti everything, but maybe that helped set the seed of being, I don't know. And I don't think I think I have a little chemical imbalance, and I think my mom really had a chemical imbalance, and I think my grandma really had.
Yeah,
so it's
a lot of that stuff is genetic.
Yeah, it's kind of weaning down a little bit, which is great. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, discipline. My mom beat my ass, and my dad sat by, and wow. I asked my dad, and this'll really sit funky with, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I asked my dad, I said, you knew what was going on. Why didn't you stop it?
Seriously.
Right? And he said, well, I did when I was there when she was doing it. I'm like, thanks. Yeah. So the time that she was, and she tried not to do it when my dad was around. So the 20 times she did it while you were around, you got involved. Yeah. What about the
40 or 80 or whatever?
Well, I was a little bit more than that, but
yeah.
And so I'm just like, that's just such a statement of like, well, I did when it was happening. So, and he did do some of the discipline, but sure. I mean, I think he was actually the one that did the discipline. My mom was just freaking out and kicking her ass. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, it was simple stuff. Like, I would knock this over. Like we talked about, like knocking milk over. That would happen. Those kind of things. And it's just, it's tough. I mean, it really shaped the way I am now. And I struggled. I've messed up, man. I've screwed up a lot. And I don't blame, I made my own decisions.
Sure.
I have such a tough time like blaming my mom or my childhood. I mean, it's my story, but how do I how do I say it without, I always preface it by saying I am my own adult. I made my own decisions, but blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm just, I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, do you think it's okay to say that? Or does it sound like an excuse?
See, I tend to say a lot of things like that. So, I think I tend to fail, or that's not the word I'm looking for. I fall on the opposite end of the spectrum where I will, I have an explanation for everything. Whereas you, it seems like you don't allow yourself to have that kind of an excuse. So,
yeah, like it's kind of like the bootstrap mentality.
Yeah,
like, you know what? This is what happened. It's I got to deal with it.
Yeah, but for me, like I've whether it's struggles I've had as an adult, I'll say things like, well, this is probably because of X that happened when I was a kid.
Right.
And so I feel like it's helpful to explain things, but if it becomes more than just explaining something and trying to excuse something, I think there's an issue there.
Well, I think if you're talking to your spouse, I bring that up a lot to Megan. I think it's okay to bring it up just as a reminder. And of course they know that, but Megan and I had something the other day, and of course, my memory's terrible, but I explained about something about the childhood and how the perspective I take on whatever it was. And she's like, I never thought about that. So like, even as much as we've worked, she's like, oh, you know what I mean? So I think you can't go to your boss and say, well, it's because I got the shit kicked out of me.
Exactly.
But you can go to your spouse and say, this is why I reacted the way I did. And they may not understand that and tell you, like, super break it down.
Yeah. So
I would caution you to be too worried about using that with Andy. I mean, unless she said something. I mean, then that's between you and her. But
yeah, no. But for me, I think I've. You mentioned work. Why? I don't know. Here's my thought on that. We spend so much of our life at work.
Right.
Why can't we acknowledge that maybe something in our childhood is making work difficult? Like, why is that such an off limits thing?
Well, it is. It's like, can you imagine going up to your boss and saying that? I think it's just like the mental health stigma. I think it's just kind of like, this is work. Work is work.
You leave everything else at home.
Exactly.
But can you really do that? I can't. I really struggle with that.
I can. But it's fine for work, but the problem is I can do that with Megan too. Like if we have a fight, I'm like, all right, I'm good. We're done. Boom. Move on. Yep. And she, so then maybe that's why I can do it. But I don't know. I honestly think you should, and you'll disagree with me. I think you just go do work. Just don't worry about it. I mean, depending on what kind of field you're in. I mean, obviously my Heather, my therapist, it's a little different because she's,
sure.
If you're
I've heard stories from my wife who is getting into that world, and she's said there's a lot of therapists that do not have their shit together.
Oh yeah.
And they're falling apart, and yet they're coaching and instructing people on how to live their lives.
Well, I think that's their coping mechanism.
Yeah.
They feel good helping other people so they can be better in their life. I don't know, but yeah, I think that field attracts broken people.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
I mean, I'm not saying Andy's broken, but
she's had a broken childhood.
Yeah, she definitely has. It would be good to get her on too, to talk about it. But I know that was a long response to how discipline was handled in my home. So,
well, let's go to the next one then.
All right.
And I think this is pretty obvious based on our previous conversation with discipline, but was home a place of calm, or was it more chaos than calm? And for you, I guess I'd be curious. Obviously, I know the answer to that question. Chaos.
Yeah.
But were there ever moments in your home where it was calm?
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It wasn't like I walked in the door and it was like, your ass is grass and I'm the mower. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of calm time. There really was. And my mom was known for abuse and then crying about how sorry she was and like, you know, that's
Do you think those tears were genuine though?
I actually do. I don't think she's a hateful person. I really don't. What makes me think that she's not is she's in assisted living now, and she's just happy. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that gives you it's like when you drink alcohol. It really kind of finds out what kind of person you are.
Oh, yeah.
Because
you're uninhibited.
Yeah. If you drink alcohol and you're like starting fights and being a jerk, that's probably how you are in real life. Like when I do it, don't get me wrong, I won't mind a good fight when I'm drunk. I mean, if someone swung at me, I would probably go. If I wasn't drunk, I would definitely think about it and probably try to talk my way out of it. Because I mean, whatever. Like I really want to fight.
Right.
But
if I was drunk, I'd probably pull out a latch hook and just start doing Wow.
That one got me, dude. Oh my gosh. That's so funny. But no, I'm like happy-go-lucky. I'm real flirty.
Really?
You know, yeah, I'm just flirty. And it's because I am a happy guy. But God, how did I get on that? Like how
who you are when you're drunk.
Yeah, but why did I? Because my
calm chaos at home.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tangent.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There is so much going through my mind right now. This is like such a subject that there's so much I want to talk about, but I don't know how to get there.
I really appreciate you even being open to talk about this stuff.
I honestly would love to sit down with Megan, and I mean, you wrote these questions down, which I super appreciate, but she asked some questions that are just like, that are so deep. Like, I don't know if I would get into them though, because being recorded and everything, it's a little weird, but, yeah, I really didn't. So it wasn't calm, chaos. It wasn't chaos all the time. That's what I was talking about. You know, I had a good life. I mean, I don't want to think you think like there was, you know, dog shit on the ground and, you know, excuse me, it's getting me too. Or I didn't have the clothes, or we went on vacations, and it's just my mom, she just freaked out. Like, you know, the freak outs I have, like she would have those freak outs, but all regularly, like 5 to 7 times a week. And she was constantly putting on a front. My sister's got the emotional abuse because like Sundays and holidays were the worst times of my life, because, you know, she wanted everyone to look perfect when we went to church. And if it didn't, she freaked out and those kind of things. So I honestly, I didn't have a place of calm, and I didn't have anyone in my life that, I swear more people knew that shit was going on, but that never reached out and said, hey, if you need anything, let me know. Like,
That's really interesting, because that's a comment that Andy's made too about her childhood. She was like, why didn't anybody say anything? Like, they knew this was happening. My uncles, my aunts, they knew how rotten my childhood was, but nobody said anything. And then her teachers too. She's like, these days, if teachers suspect anything, they have to report it.
Right.
By law.
It's like a law. Yeah.
So yeah, she definitely resonates with that comment as well. Like, why didn't anybody do anything?
Yeah. I wonder if, I don't know if things may have been the same if I had somebody that I could touch base with, or just to go to. And I'm really interested. Like, we should have done this topic after I did the EM double DR or whatever it is. Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC. I don't know. Maybe it would have been better to do this episode after because unfortunately with that, it also brings up a lot of memories, which I kind of want to just process through and be done with. But, yeah. So I didn't have a calm place. I can't say anything stuck out where I'm like, yeah, when I went here, it was this, or when I did this, it was this. And maybe I did again, and I just don't remember. Sure. So, I think that's about it for that one. Yeah.
Well, for me, growing up, home was definitely more a place of calm than it was chaos.
Okay.
We did have our chaotic moments. My older brother and I we went through a phase where we just hated each other's guts.
That's normal, I think.
And like, I remember hawking a loogie.
Oh no, I don't know. Where's this going?
I was upstairs. We had a loft, and the loft was where the bedrooms were. And then down below was the living area. So for whatever reason, I just decided to spit from the loft onto my brother who was down below.
My gosh.
And I hit him square in the nose. It was so bad.
Please tell me he beat you senseless.
He started to, but then so he managed to get me downstairs in a headlock and out the door to the backyard in a headlock, and then finally just kind of let go.
It fizzled out or whatever.
Yeah, like just dragging me through the house and outside in a headlock was enough. And I was just like, dear God, please don't let me get beat.
So I'm sure you got in trouble for that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's so there is no more disrespect to somebody than spitting in someone's face. Like when I see that, even like if I'm watching videos like on Reddit or whatever, and it's like whatever somebody does that, I'm like, it enrages me. Like just
I had
watching
no reason to.
Right, that's the thing too.
I just did it.
You're just being I almost said something terrible. But oh my gosh.
So yeah. So I mean, there were times like that where it was chaos.
Yeah.
And again, seeing my brother get into trouble sometimes because he was not the rule follower that I was. He was the opposite.
Yeah.
So he would butt heads with my dad quite a bit. There was chaos there. But other than that, home was definitely a place of calm. Like, I remember if I had a rough day at school, I could just go hole up in my bedroom, turn on music, the cheesy Christian music CDs, and just drown it all out. And so home was definitely a place of calm. And I remember the woods. I would go out there and cool off or just take some time. So definitely both inside and outside the home was calm.
That's good. It sounds like relatively, I mean, the loogie's a little out there. I don't think I ever spit on my siblings, but
I don't recommend it.
I do not recommend it either. I don't know what it is about. I mean, I think it's just because it's a bodily, like, it's like your germs.
Yeah.
Like,
there's another time where I intentionally sneezed on somebody's hot lunch at school.
No, that's freaking hilarious. Like, that's not as bad because it's like whatever.
And they had to go and get a different tray.
Well, yeah, they're not going to eat it.
Again, I didn't care what people thought of me, so I just did my own thing. I intentionally sneezed on it. Like I felt a sneeze coming.
And you walked over and
I was in line, so I just sneezed on the nearest person.
Oh, so it wasn't even you picked somebody out?
No, it was just whoever
random?
was closest.
That's kind of like a definition of a psycho. Like, seriously, dude. Like, I could see if you pick somebody out, but like just randomly sneeze on someone's food, like.
Or just randomly spitting on my brother because he was just down there.
I mean, it's your brother,
Yeah,
so you
true.
have the rage anyways because they're your siblings, but. Oh, dude.
I'm telling you, I did my own thing.
Can you imagine if you were standing in line at McDonald's and someone did that? Can you imagine? It would be
so mad.
There'd be so many videos of it because somebody was getting their butt beat. I mean, it would have been a fight. Oh, my gosh. Megan, speaking of that, it's totally off topic. Her and I went to, there's a restaurant in Granville called El Burrito. And we never been there before. But anyways, it's crazy. It's like, we've lived in Granville and been in this area for forever. And so the parking was a little tight, and I turned my blinker on to go in. Some kid come the other way, and now, mind you, I couldn't see the whole there was a car there, so I only could see my spot. He come pull in, and I'm like, I started getting, little did I know he pulled through because he could see there were two spots there. I told Megan, I said, I'm just going to let you know, if that guy did that, I would have parked the car with my blinker on right there and said, dude, what is your problem? You clearly saw that I was going in there. I mean, I wouldn't have, that would have been the end of it, and I probably shouldn't because what if
you wouldn't have said it so calmly, though.
No.
You'd have been shouting.
Yeah, and
a couple F-bombs dropped in.
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't super angry, but I'm just like, those are the things I'm just, with people that I just can't believe it.
Inconsiderate.
Yeah, I'm just like, seriously. It's like the same, I know it's completely off topic, but the Uber drivers parking in the middle of the street.
Seriously.
If you ever park like an idiot, and I'm around, you're going to get some
Watch out.
middle fingers.
Right.
So,
Man.
yeah, I mean, I feel, here's the thing. Here's a little insight. I feel like Megan wants me to get into, she's going to listen to this episode and she's going to say, what?
You only scratched the surface.
I know. And I like it when she says that, but I feel like she needs to be down here at some point when we record and for
coaching
her,
you,
not coaching me, but just like, well, explain this. And I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like I've only scratched the surface. I mean, I don't know what else. I mean, the last question is huge, you know, and let's do that one and then maybe lighten it up. I don't know if we have time for anything else.
That's all right.
Because we're like 124 in.
Yeah.
What trauma, and I can go first if you want, but what traumas did you experience as a child? We talked about, and how they impacted you as an adult.
Yeah. Let's spend some time there. Just, you know, impact not only of trauma, but our childhood in general. How has that shaped who we are today?
Yeah. Do you want me to go first?
Go for it.
So one of the things that I struggled with as an adult and still this day is I got, I had trouble keeping a job. 'Cause I had attitude. I had a huge chip on my shoulder. And so I had really trouble with managers and management. Even before I met Megan, I'm going to tell you something that you don't even know about me. So this is pretty big. I was a police officer before, and I got fired, and that was tough. I was only a couple of years. I went to school for that. No one knows about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was tough. I'm not going to go into what I got fired for, but I proceeded to have some fights with my ex-wife, and she called the cops. And so I have some criminal background. And you knew that, but didn't know what about and stuff. And the way I was abused as a child really, really had effect on all that.
Sure.
I didn't know how to handle myself. I feel I'm so bummed that career ended because I really liked it, but I think it was for the best. I mean, as you know me, like I can see the writing on the wall that it could have got bad. I could have lost my temper.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a cop, man. Like, you know, I had a pistol and I had arrest powers and it could have got bad. And I'm glad how
long were you a cop?
Maybe like 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. Just a small police department. And,
locally?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't need to know.
No. I mean, I'll tell you later, but so, yeah, I mean, I've never really talked a lot about it. I have some of my older friends know about it and stuff, and it was over 20 years ago, so I'm like over it.
Ago.
But those things like that are I had a couple of arrests, and I do have a record, and those things have. I'm not saying that the childhood had anything to do with it, but I think a lot of it did because I didn't know how to control my anger. Yeah. I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And I raged out, and that I had paid consequences. And to this day, I still am paying for that. I mean, even today, I was supposed to help out at church. This has literally happened today. And I was filling out the form and it had a background check on it. And it said, if you've been convicted of an assault, you can't do it. And I was convicted of an assault, and I sent her an email, and I should have done it sooner. I felt bad because I kind of left her in the lurch because I wasn't there today. I was supposed to go, but at the last second, I was like, I can't do it. And she did say I couldn't. And I get it, man.
Yeah.
You're working with kids. I wouldn't want somebody that had an assault on their record, even though it was 20 years ago.
Right.
But that's some deep shit right there. Like I'm not saying that stuff wouldn't have happened if I had a normal childhood, but I was like 21 years old. I mean, I didn't know anything, and the anger just took over, man. And yeah, so there's that.
Yeah, that's a happy note.
Yeah, I know. I thought about bringing that up today, and I said, nah, I wasn't gonna. But I think I really think it's important to talk about, because I think that people need to know that part of my story. And if I could go back, if someone said to me right now, you could be a police officer, I would do it. But I know that's not going to happen, and I'm too old and whatever. I love doing it.
I bet.
It was like what I went to school for,
yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I can tell you stories, but I like busting drunk drivers and all that stuff. And yeah, it's just, it sucks. But I didn't mean to get super like that, but that's how it's impacted me. That's one of the major things.
That's pretty huge.
That impacted me. And,
sure.
And just all through the life. So after that, I ended up starting a lawn care business, just mowing. And then when I was trying to get on the jobs, where I got a job at Famous Dave's, and I got fired from that one because the other girls weren't doing their side work. And me, I'm like, what the hell, man? Let's get your shit done. And then
a supervisor?
No. Yeah, see, exactly. Well, it's just like,
awesome.
It just pissed me off. Like I did all my side work. Right? I want to get cut. Like I want to get out early. It's not my time. And we got to wait for blah, blah, blah. And so I'd mouth off, and I got fired. So then I went to Red Robin. Same thing. Got in a fight with a girl there. She, Nolte was really sick, and she's like, yeah, I'll cover for you. And I don't know I can't remember what was going on, but I couldn't find anyone to cover me. I had to go home. And like the last second, she goes, no. And I was like, you effing bitch. And yeah, you can't do that. So they fired me from there. So I had trouble keeping jobs. And that's why, like, UPS or Lyft driving or lawn care when I'm by myself, I just think it's a good fit. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I'm fine with people for a while, but I need to be out kind of like you, like on the road by myself.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
So that's, I would say, that's how
if you could go back and change, and I know this might sound like a dumb question, but if you could go back and change your childhood and change the abuse and change everything, would you?
Yeah. I know we've asked that question for you, some things that I thought we brought up that would, if you could change
just mental health stuff.
Mental health, that's right. Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun, man.
I don't blame you.
I mean,
I would too. I would change my middle school experience. I would have begged and pleaded with my parents to let me go to the public school. And so
I didn't mean to like steal the show with but I mean, it's just,
how do you steal something that's already partially yours?
I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know.
Thank you for sharing. Like that's heavy, but
yeah,
I mean, I'm not surprised. Clearly your childhood, it has an impact on things.
It's very shameful to me. I'm very ashamed of that, and I'm very ashamed of having that criminal bull crap. I mean, I have a CPL. I mean, clearly they think I'm okay,
right? And
everyone's like, "Uh-oh, we better do it." But I followed all the rules, and that was fine. It was bottom line was that if the assault charge was 7 years or older, then it was fine. Well, it was a long time ago.
Seriously.
So and I don't have any problem getting jobs. It was just I knew what the kids leader was going to say. I knew what she was going to say, but it just sucks.
It does.
It sucks.
Absolutely.
Like having that live over your head all the time. So when you go to apply for anything, it's just like,
yep.
Are they going to say no? Are they going to say yes? Are they going to be like, whatever? So what about you, Ben?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you should have gone first. I gave you the opportunity.
You sure did. traumas that I experienced as a kid were not at the hands of anybody. Okay. Well, maybe that's not true. I think in middle school, I don't think that the kids were trying to ruin my life or to make things difficult. I think they were just trying to be cool and to live up to what their friends expected them to do.
Right.
And I know some of them came from shitty home lives, and the way they handled it was to go to school and to be a badass. And, you know, so they had their own traumas. Everybody had their own issues. But, so there was definitely that trauma of school. School was not a fun experience in middle school. I hated every minute of it. There were trauma that was a result of just my health, like having heart surgery.
Yeah.
That was pretty traumatic. And just recently, my mom gave me a journal that she and my dad wrote in while I was in the hospital having surgery. Oh. And just like...
Because they were probably freaking out.
They were.
And heart surgery back... So that was... How old were you?
I was 7. So this was in 90.
I mean, it was getting there, but it's...
Not an outpatient. It was an inpatient thing. They literally had to cut me open and wire my rib cage shut when they were done.
So yeah, you got put under then.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
So it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I remember they put feeding tubes in, and back then it might still be the same. We'll probably have to ask your wife, but
yeah.
To remove those feeding tubes, they just yanked them out.
Yeah.
No pain meds or anything. Just pull them out.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Yeah, there's really no good way to get those out other than, I mean, they put them in the same way. You just usually sedated. Yeah.
So that was very traumatic. I remember very well when they pulled the tubes out. It was brutal. But I also remember just the fun that I had in the hospital.
Yeah.
Like I would raise my hospital bed all the way up to the roof as far as it could go.
How does it even allow it to go that high?
I don't know.
Holy crap.
Again, this is back in the 90s before all these standards.
Yeah.
And for all I know, it could have been like 5 feet, but it felt high to me.
Right.
But I was eye level with the TV that was on the wall, and I loved it. And we watched Puff the Magic Dragon with my cousins, and there's a lot of funny memories too.
Yeah.
So, and I think those traumas, especially the health related ones, have really given me a maturity that, even as a kid, I was kind of an old soul. And
yeah, you seem to be.
I feel like that kind of stuff, it only propelled me forward. It brought maturity, it brought wisdom and understanding. And yes, it absolutely sucked to go through those traumas. But again, what I gained as a result of going through that is priceless.
Yeah.
So, of course, I would change if I was able to be born with a good heart that didn't need surgery.
Right.
Of course, I would have done that.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. See what I did there?
Oh, yeah.
So, but I did learn a lot because of those things. So those are the traumas that come to mind. I don't have an abuse story.
And that's okay. Like, don't feel bad, like, because we're talking about it. Like, because trust me, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Seriously.
It's just, and probably during the time of the abuse, it's actually worse now as an adult than probably when I experienced it, which seems weird, right? Because, like, you're getting hit, your mom hates you, but, like, look how much it's changed my, like, how it's effed up the stuff in my life.
Right.
I mean, I still struggle today with it with Megan. Like, we're currently working on stuff. Like, it's not like it's, and I hate talking about it because I'm kind of a bootstrap guy. It's like, shut your mouth and just freaking do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But there's still the emotion with it. And it doesn't mean you're soft if you have that stuff going on. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to be like me and broadcast it over the internet, but man, just get yourself into therapy.
It's so helpful.
Golly, man. It's helped so much. And it does help to have a spouse that's on board too.
Yeah.
And
I will say though, that especially in middle school, I think that's when this coping mechanism of just completely disconnecting myself from the world and retreating to my own room or wherever, I think that's healthy in a way, but I found in middle school that I could just escape and not deal with stuff and just sit in my room, do my own thing, whatever. It became a coping mechanism, and that was traumatic because there's stuff that, like the fruit fly joke and the stupid little stuff that actually came up when I was working with my therapist. And it's just all the stuff that I've bottled up and put away. So I feel like the traumas of childhood, I think you're right. You just got to deal with them. And because they don't go away.
No.
I mean, they don't. And when I was talking with my therapist, I was right back there as a kid. It felt like the nauseating stomach pain that I had as I'm standing there being completely made fun of by these kids. Like, I just remembered all of that. So, obviously my traumas are pretty small in comparison to yours.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. A trauma is a trauma is a trauma. And unresolved trauma results in problems. Yeah. So if anybody's listening, if you take anything from our show today, if you had a traumatic childhood, doesn't matter the degree. It's not even an if. I mean, everybody has stuff. If that stuff is still hindering you and impacting you today, go deal with it. Find a counselor.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to reach out to either Ben or I mean, not that we want to give our counselor's number out because we're selfish, but but we will, and we can connect you with somebody, and you don't even have to. I mean, it can be all private. You just reach out to one of us, and I'll send you an email with a couple of names. And I just think it's huge, and even if you don't have insurance, a lot of them will be like
sliding scale,
man. Like whatever you can pay. They're there to help. They're not there to make. I mean, of course, they want to make a living, but
oh yeah, they're definitely there to help. I just say this out of experience. My wife has a master's degree, and I'm just like, seriously, you should be making so much more money than this.
Right. Yeah, I know. Social workers, man, they're like clearly there for the help of it because
and she is.
I mean, it doesn't matter you're not going to be making, $150,000 a year like a doctor that goes just, that does practices medicine or whatever, But
there again, that's how my wife handled her childhood trauma. She dealt with her stuff, and now she's becoming a therapist to help other people do that same work.
So you think that, and you don't have to answer this, but you think she's dealt with everything and it's good, or do you think it still affects her every day?
Oh, she is dealt with. I mean, she goes to counseling once a week.
Okay.
Religiously for about the last 3 years.
Okay.
And once a week. And I'm just like, dang, you are doing the work.
Okay.
So
yeah, I didn't know if she was seeing anyone. That's why I said you didn't have to answer if she was seeing somebody. But no, that's good. That's good. Even Megan and I, we go for like maintenance counseling.
Yeah,
and it sounds it's like I always like, it's fine, we don't need to go. But then when we go, we're like, oh my gosh, that was so great. Like we unpacked a few things. And
I mean, you take your car in for regular maintenance. Oil
that's
change.
True.
Why not take your marriage in?
That's true. So, yeah, we're hour 42 in. I appreciate everyone that listened. If you have any questions, reach out to us.
Reach out.
We're happy to help. We're not going to go into current events or anything. We had some stuff in there just in case. But I knew this was going to take a lot longer.
I mean, you had a lot of stuff to unpack.
Yeah,
seriously. I think Megan's going to listen, and she'll probably be like, you answered more than I thought you would.
I hope so. We definitely need to get the wives. I know we keep saying that. I mean, I think we have it in the schedule somewhere, right?
Somewhere on there, yeah.
Probably March.
Yeah.
Although it's going by so, like when we record every 2 weeks, it goes by so fast. I mean, we're going to record one more time in February, and then we're going to be in March.
It's crazy.
So
time just flies.
Do you have anything to add? I mean, I think to wrap up, the podcast is basically like, if you need help, just get it. And I know we talk about that a lot, and it's not just because like I don't know. I'm just saying like, hey, it works. Like here's two dudes talking about it. Like it works.
Yeah.
And now you do have to have the right therapist, but it definitely works.
And also, I look forward to recording threads because it gives us space to talk things out. And sometimes in life, you just need to talk it out.
Yeah.
So maybe you're not ready for therapy, find a friend that you can just talk about the stuff with. Make that step one.
I mean, you can probably message us. I mean, not to say we're going to be your best friend, and you know, it might not be a good fit, but if you need to bounce some stuff off, I mean, we're not, you know, we'll send a message back.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
exactly.
That's, and Ben's like looking at me like, what are you saying? So
more people interaction? I don't like people.
Well, we're going to, again, we always talk we're having more guests. I think the next one is with Brandy.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, we got some work to do with that one for sure. But all right, guys, thank you. Again, I don't have a producer, so I have to walk over and end the live stream. But
thanks for joining us for episode 18.
Episode 18.
We did it. We're 2 away from 20.
I know, it's crazy.
It is. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching, Mom.